The member for Riverina.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy Speaker. I rise to highlight a legal case in Peru which is causing considerable distress to 6 young Australians: Harrison Geyer, originally from Wagga Wagga, Andrew Pilot, Jessica Vo, Sam Smith, and brothers Hugh and Tom Hanlon, and their families and friends. In 2012, the doorman of the apartment in which these young Australians were staying in Peru died, apparently as a result of a fall from an upper story. The 6 were interviewed by Peruvian police, who at the time accepted their innocence. The verdict was suicide. The Australians were allowed to leave Peru and are now back in Australia. I'd like to read from a letter I received from Philip Geyer on behalf of his son Harrison, who wrote to me on the 29th of November 2012, in which he stated, "As a parent, I'm sure that once you've read the outline of events you will feel the same degree of disbelief and worry that this can happen to educated Australian citizens doing nothing more than checking into an apartment. As you can imagine, to be falsely accused of murder, let alone in a country with very different judicial standards, is extremely distressing for the 6 lovely young Australians and their families. This awful situation is a result of the death of a doorman, Mr. Lino Rodriguez Vilches, in Miraflores, Lima, Peru, on the 19th of January 2012. The 6 young Australians had checked into their apartment, and Mr. Velez was the doorman who took their luggage to the lift. He was also at the front door when the 6 left to get groceries. He was not at the front door when they returned. This is the extent of their involvement with the deceased." After agitation by the deceased families and the local media, another police investigation was opened. This alleged that the Australians were implicated in the doorman's death. The Peruvian courts have overturned the original verdict and have ordered the 6 Australians to return to Peru to give statements and face trial. The young Australians and their families are understandably concerned that the decision to open a trial does not appear to take account of forensic and other evidence which they believe exonerates them. The Coalition welcomes the advice and assistance of the government, including our professional consular officials. We urge the Australian government to give the matter highest priority. The Coalition will continue to monitor this case very closely and hopes that with the assistance of the government, the matter will be satisfactorily resolved with the Australians' names cleared and no need for them to return to Peru to face trial. I spoke this morning to Rosemary Pilot, who is the mother of Andrew, who is one of the 6 young Australians unfortunately wrapped up with this dreadful situation. And she obviously is very distraught about this situation, as are the families of the other 5 young people. I commend the government to do everything that it can to see that this situation is resolved satisfactorily. It is a very worrying situation for 6 young Australians who obviously maintain their innocence. I've heard from the letter from Harrison Geyer's dad, who is also extremely worried and distraught. It is an alarming situation, and I would impress upon the government, the Commonwealth Government of Australia, to do everything they can to see that it is resolved satisfactorily. Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy Speaker.